Hello everyone, welcome to the GesySense wireless sensor system. I'm going to quickly walk you through GesySense Logit software and explain how to set up GesySense Network with a couple of modules with a repeater and a receiver. So let's have a look at GesySense Network structure. At the sensor level we have our sensors. It can be a temperature sensor, humidity sensor or any other mixed module GesySense sensor. Using a repeater is optional. If the reception of the modules are weak, let's say if the signal strength at the receiver is less than 50%, then you may have to enhance your network reach with the help of repeater. At the acquisition level, we have our receiver where all the sensors data is received and stored locally on the SD card, and the real-time values are made available over Modbus TCP or Modbus RTU. So we have our Logit software for managing and commissioning the GesySense network. One can also integrate the GesySense system into their present system using the GesySense web service from the receiver or the Modbus interface. Let's have a look at the Logit software. Make sure the wireless adapter configurator is connected. In the Logit software, one can create various number of projects. Under each project, one can create multiple sites. Under each site, one can have multiple sensor modules. And each sensor module consists of one or multiple channels based on type of sensor module. Here we have temperature sensor, which has only one channel, and you can see the temperature which is being measured. I'm going to add a mixed module sensor, which has two channels, temperature and humidity, and also a logging function. If the module has the logging function, it not only sends the values but also stores the values internally in its memory. In order to commission a sensor module, right click on the site and click on the define module. It can be either of these two, but define module readout reads the GesySense ID automatically. So make sure the sensor module is placed on the configurator. Click on the go button. As you can see, the module ID has been read out automatically. And you can have your own description for the module. And for the local modules, one can add project and user defined information which will be returned to the device. It will be helpful for the additional check for the site and the module. So by checking this checkbox, the project information will be added automatically. By clicking this checkbox, one can enter user defined information. Further, for each channel, we have graphical representation and alarm configuration. In graphical representation, you can set the minimum and maximum values. For example, I want my graphical representation somewhere between 0 to 30 degrees Celsius at the intersection of 0. And for the humidity, I want somewhere between 0 to 100. That sounds good at the intersection of 0. And in alarm configuration, one can set the alarms and warnings. For example, in this case, I want the alarm when there is temperature drop less than 20 degrees and when the temperature is greater than 30 degrees. And you can specify delay to ignore short-term limit violations. For example, for the alarm to be triggered, in this case, the limit violation should be greater than 5 minutes. Any short-term violations less than 5 minutes will be ignored. And I want my warnings when temperature is approaching less than 22 degrees and when it is greater than 28 degrees and at the delay of 5 minutes. And you can further schedule your alarming and warnings right over here. By clicking on this option, the alarm configuration is used for all the temperature sensors. If it is a humidity sensor, it will be used for all the humidity sensors. And you can also set the alarm configuration for the humidity sensor. And further, one can control the functionality of device by enabling and disabling the functions. We can also configure the logging functionality so that it sends the archived data on particular intervals of the day. So by checking this function, and one can say, for example, I want it in the mornings and then again in the evenings. And further, one can set the archiving interval. For example, I want every 5 minutes a value to be saved. I'll set it on 5 and then press OK. So you can see the commissioning is taking place. There you go. The module is commissioned and we have our temperature and humidity sensor running. As you can see, the temperature and humidity values on the channel 1 and channel 2. By right clicking on the module, one can further adjust the parameters of the device. And looks like we already have our first warning. So obviously the value has exceeded the limit. So I have to acknowledge the warning. Let's say door was open. Further, in the graphical representation, one can analyze the data by selecting a particular area. For example, I want the data be shown from this area. I just select that area and there you go. If you want to zoom out, just click here and you are back to the original graph. Further in the show table, all the measured values are shown, and if the values have exceeded the limit, the off limit condition checkbox will be checked. Let's set the repeater and receiver. By clicking on this button, you can see all the available receivers and repeaters in the GesySense network. Receiver is always set to 0, and the repeaters can be given numbers up to 1 to 7. So there can be 7 repeaters in a GesySense network and 1 receiver. I have set the receiver to 0 and my repeater to 1, as I have only 1 repeater. So click on apply and the setting will be transferred. And in the unknown project, we have unassigned GesySense modules. Here we have our repeater and here we have our receiver. So just move them to your side. Give receiver, say it as receiver, and say it as a repeater, and it's done. So last but not least, we have to configure the receiver. As you can see on the receiver's page, it still doesn't have the information of the sensors. So right click on the site, navigate to the receiver and to the configure. Enter the IP address of the receiver. And the username and the password, and transmit the configuration. So there you go. The configuration has been successfully transmitted. And you can now see the sensors information available on the receiver. Configure the software so that it can pull the information from the receiver. Right click on the site, navigate to the receiver, automatic reading, select the date and interval from which you would like to pull. Additionally, you can also export the data and select apply. Further, enable the real-time readout so that the software can get the real-time information over Modbus TCP or Modbus RTU. So by clicking here, you enable the real-time logging. One can also configure the software so that it can read the values from receiver's SD card. Right click on the site, navigate to the receiver and to the read SD card. Navigate to the receiver's FTP and select the TTR.IDE. Now Logit reads all the values from the SD card. Once you configure the receiver, you can change the mode to the receiver. If you want to commission the devices again, get back to the configurator mode and connect the wireless adapter. Further, if you want Logit software to send alarm notifications over email, we have to configure email forwarding. Right click on the project, navigate to alarm configuration and then to email forwarding. By separating with comma, you can add many recipients, and you have to enter the SMTP server settings and click on apply. If you want to export measured values from all the modules, right click on the site, navigate to export measured values, give a name, and then click on save. You can also specify the desired time range and click on export. So that was a quick overview of our GesySense system and our Logit software. If you have any further questions, please contact our support team. Thank you and have a nice day.